A convalescence of great things are happening here. We've got new maps, a grand finals, and 2 players I know you guys will love. So just to orient you, Clem is undefeated and he's coming from the upper bracket. Serral was undefeated until he met this guy called Clem in the semis and got knocked down to the lower bracket. He then beat Solar 3-2 and battled his way back to the grand finals. Now the way the format for Home Story Cup works is that they play a best of 5, but if the guy coming from the lower bracket wins, in this case Serral, then they settle it with a final best of 3. So Serral's looking at a lot of games ahead of him potentially here. We're gonna start game 1 off with a big macro map, Glittering Ashes. Let's do our intros. Our Zerg player in the top right. He's not a breakfast cereal. He is Serral!
Current world rank 1.
Yeah, I guess he's pretty good. Our Terran player's name means to suffer, which is something his opponents frequently do because he's Clem!
Get some!
Current world rank 4.
Okay, so we got a hatch first for Serral and a Reaper expand out of Clem. He's doing that Terran quadruple where he's sending that scout as well. So we've got ourselves standard openings on a big macro map. The layout of the first and natural is kind of a cross between 2000 atmospheres and Romanticide, if that makes any sense. There's 2 Reaper doors into the main though, so we'll have to watch for that. And there's sort of a choke point in the center, at least until the destructible debris gets cleared away. Here comes our eggplant geyser. The rush distance is so large on this map, the Terran SCV scout doesn't actually get to see it happen. Clem's scout does confirm it happens and gets out of there though. Clem squeezing out an extra marine before he gets that reactor. And look at this, I think Serral's going to be able to safely put down his 3rd before the Reaper arrives. He just needs to get his 300 and I'm sure he's timed this out. That is a nice thing for a Zerg player, not to have to worry about getting sniped, because a Terran cannot get a Reaper any faster than that. But I'll show you later why I think Zerg might not like Glittering Ashes. The perching points for the Overlords are way far back. Not conducive for offensive scouting. So Serral went for 2 queens and 4 lings, but he was still able to keep everything safe from that Reaper. These days it often seems to take 6 or 8 to rotate them without dying before that queen gets out. Those yellow arrows show you where the Reaper can slip in. I'm curious as to whether Clem's gonna try for that. Alright, we got a reactor switch for Terran, probably gonna see some Hellions, but we've also got an early 3rd command center and a starport on the way. This is a favorite anti-Zerg build of Clem's. It usually means he's gonna get very aggressive right after stim completes. Serral starts up Ling speed, he's gonna need it. Clem adds 1 Hellion and then a 2nd. Now the reason this map reminds me of Romanticide is all of Serral's expansions are on high ground right now. And you'll see what I think he's doing with his Overlords. It's the same thing that Zergs do on Romanticide. They position their queens and Overlords in such a way that makes it very difficult for the Hellions to surprise them. Clem's finishing up a tech lab on his racks, which means he'll be able to get stim, or he's gonna donate it to his starport and get himself a Banshee. We'll want to keep an eye on whether or not that includes Cloak. So far it does not. I mean, look at that Zerg defense. Clem just walks right into the queens. And then when he tries to juke to the other side, the Overlord's gonna see it. Look at that. He doesn't see everything, but he sees enough. There are other ways you can deke around and get into the Zerg's base, but you gotta make yourself a really big trip. Oh, we do have Cloak, and that 3rd is gonna become an orbital. At least afford me the dignity of pretending to be surprised by that. Clem's doubled up on his Hellions. That might be his answer to this problem here. He's gonna soak some hits and try to blow his way by those queens. Yeah, Hellion 5 and 6 are just on their way, and numbers 7 and 8 are being constructed. Oh, Serral's Overlord got the scout. He saw the tech lab on that starport. Sorry, Clem, but the jig is up. I guess if your starport is that close to the center of your base, you need more than a single Marine to repel that Overlord. So Serral has to be happy with his opening. He really didn't have to pay for that scout at all. And at the same time, Clem's making a lot of Hellions, but they're not really getting anything done. Stim has started up though. That's Clem telling me to just wait. The Banshee's going to work even before Cloak completes. He's gonna pick off a couple of creep tumors. Although they show up as kills on the Banshee stat screen, we don't count those as a first blood around these parts. We do count that dead drone though. A nice pickup there by Clem. Not bad considering just how many queens Serral's got out right now. He's got 9 of them. Oh, more drone kills. And still more, I think. Yes. And the Banshee's gonna get away as well. Serral's gonna make himself a spore. So I guess you could say, even though the Hellions really aren't doing much damage, they did keep the queens busy for that Banshee. Oh, actually, now they're gonna dart inside. Clem's going for a barbecue run here. Serral's lings are on it. Can he shut this down? He is killing the Hellions, but to break off, they go for the natural. Serral stays with it. He cleans it up, no lost drones. It looks like 5 dead Hellions for 5 dead lings. Serral will take that trade. Look at that. That Overlord cannot even see the third. Serral starts up Lair Tech and a Baneling Nest. Clem's second Banshee has been a pest as well, keeping Zerg busy until that stim can finish. Both our players have opted for double upgrades. Their +1/+1 timings look to be pretty even. Clem is reactoring medevacs. We know how this goes. He's gonna be speed dropping and looking to do damage. He's got 10 Marines ready. And he does need to do something, because Serral's got a worker lead of 8 right now. Right now, mules are still the difference maker, but they won't be for much longer if this keeps up. One Banshee headed home. I'll be so impressed if Clem actually repairs that. Lair Tech finishing. Baneling Nest is done. Oh, medevacs are loaded. Serral immediately sprints for Baneling speed. That's what he's after. Each of those medevacs has a Widow Mine in it, by the way. Serral takes his 4th, but not where I would have expected it. That's a more aggressive forward location. Thanks to his Banshee scouting, Clem's figured it out. He's gonna go for it. Queens are there, though. They're looking to buy time until Baneling speed can get here. Skin Marines backed by medevacs can be a tough order for his speedling. Look at those transfusions. How does Serral bank so much energy on those queens? I think the answer to my question might be because he's got 9 of them. That's several extra queens that don't need to worry about injects or creep tumors. Serral's +1/+1 finished first, but Clem's about to even it up. And then he's gonna get combat shields on top of that. Oh, Serral's got a Hydra Den and he's researching Hydra speed. It's about a 25% increase in the speed. But the Hydra also gets a +30% speed bump whenever they're on creep. So I just like to say the Hydras get faster and call it a day before my head starts to hurt. Oh, armory finishing up. That's gotta be for the Widow Mines. That's gonna make the mines cloaked while they reload. It makes a big difference. Oh, Baneling speed finally coming online. Centrifugal hooks takes 110 seconds to get here. I'm sure Clem enjoyed every one of those seconds, but that party's over. Oh yeah, Serral doesn't waste any time showing off his new toy. Oh, but there's too many Marines. They're gonna get some queens here. Serral transfuses everything, but it doesn't matter. Oh, reducing the queen count is really gonna help Clem out here. Oh yeah, Terran's gotta like that. Clem's army size just took a big jump over Serral's. And I think he's about to get a Horde of Pinata. He is! He shuts down Serral's 5th. That's not a cancel. And then he just picks up and he's going to be able to harass the mineral line at the natural. Clem is actually taking advantage of the rotational layout on this map. The mineral line is like right there. Serral looking to clean up. He rolls in the Banelings. Oh, Clem's going to get his 4th down. He's going to go on even bases with the Zerg. Everything's coming up, Clem. Serral getting the burrow upgrade. Let's just pray that's for Baneling landmines. We watched that turn a game around for Dark recently. Maybe you can do the same for Serral. He's also getting 7 Hydras. That can really help out with the Widow Mines. That's going to add the range that he needs. As long as he has an Overseer to go with it, of course. Another Queen dies. This damage is starting to add up. Clem picks up Drilling Claws. He's really committing to the Widow Mines. They're now going to burrow 3 times as fast. Clem's channeling his inner Beyond here, attacking in multiple places at once. Who's got the best multitasking here? A stimmed attack to the east. The scan reveals too much defense. Clem gets out of there. But he's sucking Serral's defenders. Is it an overcommitment? Nope, Serral's kept a force on the center west side. Hey, do the medevacs ever accidentally deposit the troops in the lava? It looks like that's a thing that could totally happen. I'd be like, I'm not disembarking until I check the temperature. Oh, Clem's about to max out now. He's gonna start trading even more aggressively. Terran's got the income advantage. Serral's trying to get up a 5th. It's not like Serral's starving out here. It's just that Clem's pulling in more minerals, and that's gonna start to add up. And Terran's attacks have been relentless. There is no offense for Zerg here. It's actually resulted in Clem getting the worker lead. And again, Serral's not hurting for workers with 76 of them. It's just that it's another edge that's going to Clem. Oh, interesting. Clem is adding Marauders with concussive shells. Oh, is he going to get that 5th base location again? He does. So the Marauders are interesting. They're really going to help him out against the Banelings. It's just that they don't add too much against the Lings and Hydras. I guess when you're maxed out and you've got money, you just want to start upgrading the quality of your army. The good news for Serral, though, is he is defending and he is growing. The natural supply cap of 200 should work in his favor, give him an opportunity to catch up to Clem. A big round of Hydras for Serral. He wants to make the world unsafe for medevacs. You just can't give those things a free pass. Just say no to subsidized air travel, people. It's bad for the market economy. Unless I'm traveling. In that case, we gotta do something about the exorbitant price of airfare. Oh, I saw an infestation pit for Serral there. He's having to defend every inch of his base, but still he's teching up. And he just cleared out a set of medevacs. But did that leave him vulnerable to an attack on his left-hand side? Serral says no. Looks like he's gonna save that hatch. Spoke too soon. No, I was right the first time. Even if he didn't get the hatch, that was a very good engagement for Clem. He just killed a ton of stuff there. He actually wound up supply blocking Serral for a little bit by killing those overseers as well. So Clem is just showering Serral with lefts and rights here. The only problem is he hasn't got that knockout punch. And until that happens, Serral's going to be looking for ways to crawl back into this. For example, Serral's getting himself a hive now. That's going to give him an opportunity to change the character of this game, give his opponent a different look. Clem is getting +3/+3 though. That's going to make his Marines so awful to deal with. It's a Widow Mine drop, 4 Widow Mines behind different mineral lines. That is such a handful to deal with. Once again, Serral with the cleanup, and he's close to maxing out. Oh man, Clem hit 800 APM when he was doing that drop. That is insane, because if it's Clem, you know it's not spamming. He's not just whacking his spacebar, if you know what I mean. So I thought that Serral was going to try to use his hive tech to go for a lurker den, but I don't see one. I figured, you know, he's got Hydras. He might also try to use their weirder, bigger cousins. Oh neat, Clem still got a leftover Banshee. Oh, those Marauders are so good against Banelings, so good. Oh, Serral with the surround here. He's going to crush this army. Clem can't just pick up without the Hydras giving him some serious losses. And Serral got 900 APM trying to pull that off. Clearly he doesn't want to be outdone. So now both our players are mining 3,000 minerals a minute here. I can't know for sure that this is going to be representative, but I think this is a thing we'll be expecting to see on Glittering Ashes. It's a map you can really get rich on. That must be the glittering part. Meanwhile, Serral's got the supply lead, he's got the army lead back. I think we're seeing some of his first offense here. For a second there, I thought he was actually going to see Clem's base. Maybe he did, but whatever he saw, he didn't like because he turned right back. Clem making a tank. And there's his Ghost Academy, by the way. He's slowly adding those in. Which tells me, I think, that he's anticipated Serral making a lurker den, which Serral is. And Clem's going to have his Ghost protocol in place before the lurkers even get here. That is smart anticipation. And he's adding personal cloaking for his Ghosts as well. Serral breaking down the rocks in the center, opening up the map for his units. That's going to help him get even more surrounds, which has been the key to his success so far in this game. And look at this center map expansion for Serral. That's got to be a tough hold, but why not? Clem's not going to stop attacking you anyways. And with that last engagement, the game is seesawed back to Clem. He's got the supply lead again. Another interesting way to analyze this game is by looking at the efficiency. Terran's been more efficient than Zerg in terms of units and resources lost. But not a huge amount. I think Serral can be happy with this. Serral's researching seismic spines, getting that lurker range. Clem looking to double expand, but Serral's got him blocked at both locations with buried Zerglings. It's such a cheap way to befuddle your opponent. Right now, Serral's real objective though is to buy time so he can get his lurkers out. If you can add that new dimension of range, he can kind of change the character of this game. Oh, and indeed, he is making his first lurker. Clem takes care of that buried Zergling. And again, still anticipating those lurkers, Clem puts down a missile turret. He's going to pair that with another sensor tower. Clem's making a lone Viking. I wonder what that's for. Maybe to push the Overseers away from his cloaked ghosts. Here we go, 12 lurkers about to pop. Here comes Serral's big investment. Clem sees them, he's like, run away, run away! That's a lot of spines that can shred a lot of bio. Clem is really stepping up the ghost production in response. Personal cloak is done, so in theory those ghosts can just waltz right in there and start sniping. For all the damage that Clem has been doing, Serral does have that center base up. The Zerg income continues to rage, and now Serral has the tech to pair with it. On the other hand, Clem has entered the late game with a vengeance. He's +3/+3 and he has the Ghost Protocol in full effect. And really, we're at the 16-minute mark of the game and Serral hasn't really achieved any significant offense. I think what Serral would tell us though is if you win the game, does it really matter how much offense you had in the earlier phases of the game? Clem is maxed out again. Oh, it's a Sniper-palooza. Oh my god. He just annihilated like 20 supply and lurkers. Serral was actually supply blocked and Clem took care of that for him. I get that he's retreating, but that was a very successful assault. And now Clem's got that forward base too, with the spare. If Clem can keep sniping like that with so many ghosts, I don't think the lurkers are going to be able to save Serral. Oh, he's going to kill that buried Ling with a Widow Mine. But that was a valuable Ling. He coaxed out a scan, he forced a Widow Mine shot, and he delayed the command center. I think that Zergling deserves a Zergy treat. Well, maybe we won't give him one, seeing as he's dead and all, but I think he deserves one. Oh, the ghosts just keep on sniping. Serral's supplies falling here. And the center forward base is going to fall under threat. Oh, Serral bringing the offense. Going after Clem's undefended expansions. Just when I think Serral's on the ropes, he goes and pulls something cool. But he won't be happy if he loses his center expansion. He's got to pull the drones. He's going to concede it. Meanwhile, the Zerg is doing economic damage of his own. So many ghosts, and they are not cheap. The corporate dental plan alone is expensive. Oh, Clem is cleaning up Serral's assault, but the lurkers are going to get away. Well, maybe not the poor sap he left behind. Heavy worker losses on both sides. Clem's really got a nice medevac cloud, though. That's really going to help prolong the life of his ghosts. Serral swinging his lurkers at Clem's main force. Clem sees it. Oh, he is sniping. Oh, the Zerg supply takes a tumble. Oh, and Serral GG's out. Clem gets a critical hit, sniping Serral's heart, taking game 1. Just a relentless attack by Clem for game 1. But while I'm sure that was a part of it, I don't think that's what actually won Clem the game. Serral was taking the hits, he was still maxing out and teching up. What I think really happened is that Serral got demoralized when he discovered that Clem had teched ahead of him and was ready for his lurkers with a huge supply of sniping ghosts. I mean, just look at this. These are some killer snipes. At 200 hit points, lurkers are incredibly beefy. But Clem is just gonna double snipe. His control's that good. Each of those laser pointer lines is a separate attack doing 170 points of damage. And tap, 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 3 lurkers disappear in the span of 2 seconds. Clem's gonna repeat that stunt at the end of the game, and it's gonna hit Serral so hard he's gonna completely rethink his strategy and probably decide he wants a different composition for game 2. 4 of 7 Serral lurkers are gonna die before they can even get underground. Remember, he's gotta fire off scans at the same time he's doing this. Now, I've read a lot of posts about how lurkers are OP. They're extremely resilient, do great damage, have terrific range, and of course they're cloaked. But as you can clearly see here, a Terran who has their Ghost Protocol fully up and running, they can handle it. So I really want to see what this means Serral's going to do for game 2. How does he adjust? And will we get a cool new map for the next one? So Adjutant, if you would please.
The game begins now.
Alright, it's game 2. And I love that we're going to be able to do it on a map with a very different feel. This time we're going to do it on Curious Minds. A map created by Ukrainian map designer who's obviously a Bly fan, so that gets me excited right there. We've got a much smaller map this time, so a very different game ahead of us. It's got less mineral patches than a lot of the other maps, which gives it that mine out potential. It makes me think of the map Oxide, but I think the similarities quickly end there. What this map is really about, or what it's intended to be about, we'll see how it plays out, is that there's a bunch of nasty sight blockers on the left and right hand side. So it's a bit of a war for vision, and we'll talk about that. But we've got a hatch first for Zerg, so let me introduce our Terran player. For the weather on today's map is not inclement. In fact, it's perfectly Clem! The 19-year-old player from France playing for Team Liquid is up 1 game. But his Zerg opponent in the bottom right is no stranger to the pressure of a grand finals. His drones don't have the slightest shake as he puts down his extractor pool. For he is no Dayduke. He is the Night King. He is Serral! Serral, of course, is a 23-year-old player from Finland playing for ENS. It looks like Clem is recycling his Terran quadruple from game 1. And why not? If anything, the Reaper should be that much more effective. The rush distance is now 5 seconds shorter. And wow, there is not a lot of space in that natural. The command center looks like it takes up the whole thing. But boy, is there wide open space in front of the triangular third. So this time, the Terran scout is actually going to be fast enough to be able to witness the hatch pop. He might even have enough time to get a selfie with it. Dear diary, today I saw this. Serral repeats his 2 queens and 4 lings. So far it's game 1 all over again, but that should end quickly. Clem once again squeezing out that extra marine before he puts down a reactor, starting up that factory. Now, one thing to keep in mind with that shorter rush distance is there's an opportunity for that Reaper to snipe the drone going for the third. Oh, Clem doesn't see it. Maybe there isn't enough time. Clem's timed it out and he knows it's futile. But I was kind of hoping this would be one of those maps where we'd see mind games between the Reaper and that drone. Zerg would either have to wait for the Reaper to get out of the way, or he'd have to send it early and hide it. Oh, that's the first blood. Clem is able to tag a ling before the queen pops out. It's not a huge deal, I don't want to make too much of it, but it's a nice little feather in his cap. Though to be honest, Clem doesn't strike me as the type of guy who wears feathers in his cap. We probably stopped doing that sometime in the Middle Ages. He also forced Serral into doing a spore trick. Technically, that cost Serral 18 minerals as well. Every little bit helps. Looks like Clem's gonna repeat his reactored Hellions, and potentially his Banshees, making that starport as well. Both players still recycling from game 1. I believe I said that Serral would change up his composition, so of course they're gonna keep everything the exact same just to make the caster look foolish. They do that to me on purpose, guys. It's their whole reason for playing. Truthfully, it's all about me. Wow, that third base is so open. You could host a wedding party in there. You could probably seat all your cousins and your cousins' neighbors. Though I don't normally recommend that people host their weddings on space stations infested by the Zerg. I understand the search for venues can be competitive, but in this case it's probably best to keep looking. There's that tech lab switch. This is still looking like Banshee 2.0. Serral's picking up that ling speed, and it is a Banshee. Cloak remains to be seen, no pun intended. This time Clem's put his starport further back. It's going to be tougher for that Overlord to duck in and see it. Yes, Cloak is on the way. Clem is not researching robes or other garments, but he is researching Cloak. In my opinion, the 2 Hellions 1 Reaper harass here is a little bit more annoying than it was in game 1. They've got more attack angles. Serral's going for a scout with a slow Overlord. He's gonna see the Cloak, he's gonna see the Banshee. But this time it's gonna cost him an Overlord. It's a one-way trip. Last game he got that scout for free. He might even see the Banshee pop out to confirm that it won't be cancelled. Unclear, but regardless, Clem is making a second Banshee just like he did in game 1. He's completely repeating a memorized build. I think he was happy with how it went in game 1, and so the ball's really in Serral's court to do something different. Serral puts down his double Evos. You'll notice how the center of the map is all blocked off with debris, unless and until that's dealt with, the players have to come around the sides of the map, and that's where the sight blockers are. It comes into play a bit more once the players decide to take a fork. Oh, is Clem taking his eyes off his Banshee? No, he saves it. Oh, he just lost half his health on his Banshee in that exchange. Score 1 for a very alert Serral. He's managed to spread his creep all over the ballroom, and it's really paid off. Oh, the Hellions are getting in! Drone barbecue on the menu. No, Clem backs out. He didn't like it. He sensed a Zergling trap there. I think he would have had a good trade. But obviously his instincts are vastly superior to my own, and he didn't like what he saw there. Oh, this is kind of neat. The Hellions think they're hiding. They don't know that there's an Overlord staring right at them. It's a new map, guys. People don't know all the Overlord positioning yet. Oh, that injured Banshee's in range of the Spore, and Serral's able to pick it off. And he's even adding a second Spore to better protect his third. Is he gonna get both? No, the Banshee escapes. Just 5 hit points left. Just one more Acid Spine would do it. So as it stands, not only is Serral up 11 workers, he's actually got the slightly larger army at this point. Oh, please tell me Clem's gonna repair that. It drives me nuts when people don't repair their Banshees. Clem starts up Stim. He's also getting his +1/+1, but Serral is ahead of him on that score as well. It's early days, but Serral has proved me wrong. He's got a much better opening doing the exact same thing as game 1. I guess he's just tightened up his execution, or he's gotten luckier. So Zerg puts down his 4th, and you can see how Terran can hide with those sight blockers. Clem grabs the tower. That means he can see the queens, but the queens can't see the Hellions. It's like you have one-way sight blockers. And so the map designer's hoping that those watchtowers will become uber important. See, Serral grabs it with a ling right there. Zelnaga for the win. A strategic advantage is gained. He's even grabbed the tower on Clem's side of the map. Oh, Clem's coming up with a tank instead of Widow Mines. I particularly like this choice if Serral's going for Hydras again. Splash damage is so good against Hydras. Clem takes control of the watchtower. Now he's able to shoot the queens past the sight blockers. Serral's solution, though, is to come around the backside with a cloud of Zerglings. He chews up that tank that I was raving about so much. I still really like the idea of what Clem was trying to do there. Meanwhile, Serral's got his lair done, so he's going to immediately get to work on Baneling speed, just like game 1. Clem got a lot done while Serral was waiting for his Baneling speed in game 1. We'll have to see if he can do that again. He really wants to try to deny that 4th, but Serral really has his defense focused on this side of the map. And now he's reclaimed the watchtower. He can actually see Clem disembarking. Clem thought he was unloading unseen there. It just gave Serral that extra surround. Score 1 Zelnaga. Though if you're one of those guys who like to say Zelnaga, potato, I don't care. Clem unloads the heal, and Serral sees him again. Clem's gonna figure it out. Anywhere within range of that watchtower, Serral sees you. I mean, the bottom line is these watchtowers could make for some fun viewing. I look forward to seeing what kind of strategies people are gonna come up with to maximize their potential. Oh, but this time Clem just brings a truckload of Marines. He's like, I don't care if you see me or not. A double scan, he's gonna clear out the creep. Serral's so close to having Baneling speed, here it is. But Clem with a hot pickup. Just like game 1, both our players have roaring economies. However, unlike game 1, the map can't sustain it quite as long. Serral at 79 workers. Clem picking up drilling claws for Widow Mines. He didn't like how his foray into tanks went. And really, he hasn't seen a Hydra out of Serral. Though, coincidentally, Serral did put down a Hydralisk den just now. The defense now gets trickier for Zerg. Now that he's taken his 5th base, he has 2 vulnerable sights on each of his wings. And this is exactly what Clem excels at. Multitasking and hitting multiple sights at once. Oh, that's a tank drop. That's interesting. This is another thing that reminds me of the map Oxide. There's that circular structure that you can hide a tank behind and bombard your opponent. I think that's what Clem's trying to do here. And you can even get a second one behind the destructible rocks, kind of like you do on 2000 Atmosphere. Okay, that's what he's doing. This is nasty. It's a tough hold for the Zerg here. Serral responds by making 11 more Banelings. He's just gonna brute force it. Meanwhile, Clem's still working the other side of the map as well. The Marines poke at the hatch. They have that great fallback point with the tank. Here comes Serral. He's gonna soak the tank in Widow Mine hits, and then he's just gonna trade right out. And his hatchery is saved. Clem's got the bigger army. He's got the supply lead here. Oh, quadruple Widow Mine drop. Serral's gotta pull his drones. The Spore's gonna give him detection of all these mines. So once they go on cooldown, Serral's able to clean them up. Only 3 drone kills, so it's hard to know who got the better of who there. But the drone pull cost Serral money, so it was probably pretty close. Okay, so we've reached Clem's relentless attack phase. Clem just hits the gas and drops over and over and over. And he's got the money to sustain it. You can see he's taken a fourth with a fortress. And then as he so often does, he builds that extra command center right next to it. Serral's attack upgrade is about to end as Clem gets his +2 attack. His +2 armor's way behind though. He actually went for vehicle plating instead. Serral puts down his lurker den. He's just sticking it to the Zugzwang. Yes, I'm doing the same build from game 1. One difference though, in game 1, Clem was ahead of him with that Ghost Academy. I do not see one out of Terran yet. What Clem is doing right now is he's mixing in Marauders. He's reacting to the Banelings. He's not reacting to the Hydras. Because he doesn't see any. Serral never made any. He essentially hid his Hydra tech. He didn't get any Hydra upgrades. He's just sprinting to Lurker tech. So that's the adjustment. He's leaping to Lurkers. Oh, there's the Ghost Academy. Clem, as always, is one step ahead of me. But is he a step ahead of Serral? Not this game. Serral could have an opportunity for his Lurkers to have a real impact before the Ghosts get enough energy to do their snipe thing. Their steady targeting, as I'm supposed to call it. Serral's kind of winning the Splatoon game at this point. He's got more than half the map covered with creep. Watchtower, Smotch Tower. I'll make my own vision, thank you very much. Oh, as soon as I say that, Clem goes to work paring back that creep. Oh, he's gonna catch a nice nest of Banelings trying to morph. Oh, that's always so satisfying as a player when you do that. So both our players just maxed and pretty much at the same time. The difference might be that Serral's doing it with Lurkers. 6 in production and there's no ghosts on the field. Clem's making Marauders still. And Lurker range is gonna finish up for Serral right on schedule. Those spines can really tear up the Terran bio. They're also gonna force out an incredible amount of scans, which is gonna cut into Clem's income. He has a bank though, so I'm not so sure he cares that much just yet. And if he kneels too hard, he'll just mine out all the faster. There we go, Zerg forcing the Terran back with a surprise tech jump. Clem immediately starts making ghosts. See, right now he's reinforcing with Marauders. That's not what he wanted. Yeah, every single tech lab he has is now making a ghost. Ha! Zergling versus Fortress. That Zergling did a lot of damage before the Fortress finished. Oh, interesting. Now Serral's going back to get his Hydra upgrades. Lurkers first, Hydras second. You don't see that too often. Serral up to 92 workers. The other thing that interests me is he's not making that many Lurkers. Could just be because he's essentially maxed out. But he just finished dumping all of his larvae into Zerglings. Okay, here we go. Spoke too soon. He's making Hydras now. Oh, Clem going for a stealth drop in the main. I like this. All of the critical tech structures are here. Or he could just hit an extractor. I guess he was just microing elsewhere at the moment. Serral needs to get on this though. Okay, here comes the streamer link. That's gonna force the pickup. Serral does not have the crackling upgrade yet, aka adrenal glands. As you probably know from some of the previous games I've casted, I'm pretty high on that upgrade right now. I feel like it's particularly strong in this meta. I mean, it's always been good. It's just very impactful in this matchup. Clem's back to building up his bank again. He's actually getting a Liberator. And as his Marines and Marauders die out, he's recycling them with ghosts. Oh, there goes Serral with the adrenal glands upgrade. See, I'm his personal advisor. That's why Serral thanks me after every championship he wins. I couldn't have done it without that Zugzwang guy I've never heard of. He will often be heard to say. Clem's gonna clean out that buried ling and he's gonna take the last base location left on the map. That's a tough one to hold and I don't blame him for taking it last. But it means we officially have a split map scenario. Usually that gets me pretty worked up, but I think on a map like Curious Minds it's gonna be very common. And if Clem gets that hatch, we will no longer have a split map situation, but Serral with the save. How dare you violate map symmetry, says the Zerg player. Oh, a single lurker breaks off to cause chaos in the bottom left here. There's no detection, Clem will need a scan. There's the SCV pull, and Clem goes to work in setting up a missile turret. Oh, and Clem sends over his Liberator to deal with the threat. So this one lurker is really commanding a lot of resources. There's the scan. Did the circle actually miss? No, he got him. Love that burn animation. Sometimes lurkers just roll over and die, but sometimes they just really turn into cinders. And while Clem's distracted, Serral strikes the 4th base location. Actually, he strikes everywhere. He's gonna get the extra CC. He's gonna get the fortress. Oh no, Clem saves his fortress. He needs to repair that or it's gonna burn down. And he saved the command center too. If adrenal glands had been done, that might have been a different story. I think what part of Serral's strategy here is to get Clem to overreact to the lurkers. He really doesn't have that many of them. And if Clem goes whole hog on the ghost, he's not going to be that effective against Ling Bane. And little stunts like this by Serral here kind of plant the seed that he is focusing on lurkers. Now leave room for the possibility that I'm just reading way too much into this. It's possible that Serral just keeps maxing out, so he can't really make the lurkers that he wants to. But my point is that ghosts are very inefficient against Zerglings and Banelings. It leads to some very expensive trades. So Clem did repair that fortress and that CC, but Serral's come back for round 2. And this time he's just brought too much. Fortress falls. But with his spare command center still alive, Clem will immediately reposition it and get his base up and running very quickly. He needs to repair that though, because it is on fire. Serral adding 28 more Lings. Their army size is essentially the same, but it just feels like Serral has so much more stuff right now. Clem looking to focus down a Serral base to get some revenge. With their rifles, the ghosts look like a firing squad. Hatch falls, but what really stands out to me is how much energy those ghosts have on them. That is a ton of snipes available to Clem. I think what Serral might be doing is saying maybe, but I don't intend to give him very much to use them on. I think it's been a great little adjustment for Serral. It's almost like fake with the high tech, hit with the low tech. Oh, the Liberator's killing Lurker number 3. The Liberator's like, why won't you stay dead? The Lurker's like, dude, I'm not the same person. Take the time to get to know me before you blow me apart. We don't all look alike. Serral keeps staging these raids into Clem's territory. No knockout blows, but Clem is at an income disadvantage now. Clem's still making ghosts, but he's also making Widow Mines to help him get that splash damage to deal with those Zerglings. And here's Serral showing how wrong I am. Now he's bringing the high tech. Let's see if Clem's ready with those snipes. No, Serral sees the Widow Mine defense and he pulls back. But in doing so, he might find himself a new attack angle. He's found the Terran orbital farm. This is a good thing to take out. But first he's gonna prioritize the fortress. This is gonna injure Clem's income supply. It's a controlled demolition. The Liberator's taking free shots at the lurkers, but there's just too many of them. Clem needs to intercept those lurkers with his ghosts. Serral wants to try to keep his Lings on those ghosts. The ghosts do not have cloak yet, that's just starting up now. Serral making 52 cracklings. He's gonna have a Zergling for every Terran limb. Another orbital gets eaten. Clem is gonna have to find a way to strike back, or this series is gonna get evened up. Serral's got a $4,000 gas bank at this point. That means he can cover the map with Banelings if he wants to. And Clem is back to making ghosts instead of marauders. Serral just wants to keep the Terran guessing as to which threat is coming. One thing I just love though is how Clem keeps on top of building his CCs. He really does seem to be building them faster than Serral can destroy them. And if he can keep that up, he can force a stalemate until he finds a compositional solution. Or he can get a steady targeting mitts on those lurkers. Oh man, there are a lot of Lings coming on the map right now. And Serral's about to get +3 attack for them as well. I don't know if it's going to be full crackling or full baneling or some combination thereof. But I don't know if personal cloaking is going to save those ghosts. By the way guys, personal cloaking is so much better than impersonal cloaking. I've been impersonally cloaked before and I gotta tell you, the cookie cutter experience just didn't do it for me. It was just way too generic. Oh, but speaking of that personal touch, Clem with a little run by here. Low risk commando raids, that's what you want. Can Clem kill it and pick up? No, Serral saves it. Clem does escape, but he took a supply dump for that. I like the thinking behind it though. Zerg does not have a lot of Hydras right now. Those medevacs kind of have free reign. The hatch got down to 72 hit points. That was so close. Ah, parasitic bomb on the medevac. Serral using his Vipers instead of Hydras. Very smart. That hatch got down to 72 hit points. Does Serral have the ability to transfuse it? Meanwhile, there's more mineral line harassed by those lurkers. Clem's lost 10 more workers and no doubt a bunch of scans. Clem is definitely showing signs of leaking oil. He needs a big engagement to turn this around. He does have a gas bank, but first he'll have to survive the next crackling wave. Serral just keeps maxing out. His bank is much bigger than his opponent's. At this point, a trade is a win for the Zerg, and it doesn't have to even be that efficient. Oh, the Zerglings are hunting for the ghosts. They're chasing them into the back corner of the map, behind the mineral line. Both players' supplies are crumbling, but it's Clem that's losing the expensive units, as well as a pair of orbitals. Oh, we hit a double Crimson Zone and I totally missed it. Serral's remaxing up on cheaplings. Clem has no mineral bank left. He can't match that. But there's just no quit in this kid. He's still hunting for a way to get some vengeance. He knows he's got snipe energy. Serral making 17 banelings. He might be looking for a coup de grace here. At the same time, he's taking the bottom left base. Talk about wrecking the symmetry of the map. It's gonna be Emerald Fireworks. Clem is being forced back. He's trying to make Widow Mines. Just maybe that'll give him a chance to stabilize his defense. Now Serral's remaking 14 Hydras. Oh, and using the ducks on the ghost. Oh, Clem's supply falls even further. Clem can just not be attacking into that location. It has, though, let him rebuild at the top center. He does have a semblance of an economy. Oh, and he forces Serral to cancel like a dozen lurkers. Clem is doing a lot with very little here. Serral was never able to heal up that hatch, and so Clem is going to get it after all. And now he's going to go after the drones, which have actually fled to the Terran side of the map. Oh, 5 kills with 1 Widow Mine hit. With 22 dead drones, Serral's income's not that much better than Clem's right now. But Serral might be quite content to use all that extra supply space to just beef up his army. He's been able to remake those lurkers, 13 new ones on the field. That takes him up to 22. I don't think Serral cares if he gets sniped anymore. He's got backup lurkers for his backups. When you got 22 lurkers, you leave a lot of potholes on the map. I know I would definitely want to call my local municipal councilor and complain. There's the snipes, but it's just not enough. There's too many lurkers. He gets an EMP on the Viper, but it's just David versus Goliath at this point. Serral soaks the hits and walks right into his base. And his GG, Clem plays his final card. He sees that the impact is negligible and says, how about a game 3? Well, I think I got my analysis out on that game already. It looks to me like both players are pretty happy with their game plan. I think they both feel as though it's just going to come down to execution. And to use a much overused sporting cliche, it's going to come down to who makes the least mistakes. But I had a hunch that I was really going to enjoy this map. And thus far, I haven't been disappointed. I think it has a lot of possibilities. So without further ado, Adjutant, if you would please.
The game begins now.
I don't know about you, but I'm having a lot of fun with these new maps. This time around, we're gonna battle on Hardwire. Because nobody, and I do mean nobody, likes their wires soft and mushy. Also, this map contains the neutral unit, the Cleaning Bot. Finally, an explanation as to why all the corpses just keep vanishing and disappearing. Because the Cleaning Bots are dealing with it, obviously. All kidding aside, to me, this is like the new standard map. This is the one that shouldn't cause any controversy or make anybody particularly angry. A dependable 2-player map with not a lot of bells and whistles. You gotta have a couple of those in your rotation. Not surprised to see Serral go on hatch first. It's a fairly defensible natural. Shouldn't the Cleaning Bots be reacting to the creep? I mean, if you're not cleaning up the gray and purple gunk, what are you cleaning? In fact, there's actually one on the creep right now. Maybe I'll just have to get over it and accept they don't actually clean. Anywho, it's a Rax at the top of the ramp for Clem. And it's going to be Extractor Pool for Zerg. Let's sneak in our intros while we still can. Because I'm sure you've forgotten who our players are. Serial killers are fiendish individuals. But the most menacing killer of all is the one that is Serral! You don't get to the very top of the heap in this game by being merciful. Even the Cleaning Bots blow up in his presence. Our Terran player is neither a solid nor a gas. He is Liquid Clem! Clem has that same opening as per his previous games with that Terran quadruple. He's sending a scout over to check that hatch pop. He will be able to bear witness. And you and I will be able to bear witness that it is once again 2 queens and 4 lings. The Reaper's making his way. I believe this is a map where the 3rd can go down without incident though. Serral's queuing minerals for that 3rd hatch as we speak. He goes for the lateral location. I think that's hard to disagree with. The elevated main base does have a Reaper door, but thus far Clem's Reaper has shown no interest in using it. I suspect he's just of the view that if you're playing an opponent of Serral's level, using the Reaper door is just suicide. It's a much shorter dance this time around. The queen is going to be here in just a moment. And no lings are killed in the making of this dance movie. Reaper's going to pull back. Serral's going to start up ling speed. Back at the Terran ranch, Clem's getting that reactor and he started up that 3rd command center. It just turns him into that income powerhouse because you can get that extra SCV out so much faster. Reactor switch is underway. Oh, it's not a starport. It's a 2nd barracks. Now this is a build that we see Clem do all the time, but it's not one he's busted out in this series yet. Oh, and look where Serral stashed his Overlord. Clem squeezed out that extra Marine, but it's kind of in the wrong spot. Just checking that we didn't miss that first blood. No kills by that Reaper. One of the fun things about new maps is players can still surprise each other with their positioning. When that Overlord drifts in from the right, Clem's gonna be like, what, you can do that? Now you see how that Reaper has that fishing line connected to it? That means that Clem's ordered the Hellions that he's making to immediately link up and join with that Reaper. At the same time, Clem's now making stim. He's gonna get it faster with this build. He's cut out the Banshee. The factory gives up the reactor. That's gonna go to the new 2nd racks. Clem means to be making Marines 3 at a time at least. This build calls for hitting the Zerg with stim Marines en masse. If the Zerg player gets greedy and gets caught making too many drones, they just straight up die to it. I expect, though, that Serral's going to be sending in his Overlord to find out about this. Okay, so that's the starport getting made now. But presumably that's going to be for making medevacs to support those Marines as they stim the crap out of themselves. So there's that Overlord drifting in, nobody there to stop him. He's going to get himself a very good look at Clem's main. There was a Marine assigned to shut that Overlord down, but boy is he going to be late. Clem's going to have to deal with it with his main force, and that's going to reveal even more information to Serral. I'm not sure if Serral saw everything, but he saw enough to put 2 and 2 together here. We'll see how he reacts in a moment here. He puts down double evolution chambers. That's what he thinks of this. At the same time, he continues to drone. He's clearly not as afraid of this as I am. Or more likely, he knows exactly how many seconds he has before he has to start making combat units. Remember, if you panic and jump at every shadow in the early game, you're not going to have the economy to deal with the late game threats. It's a continual balancing act that the Zerg has to achieve. Stim is done. Clem's got double medevacs just about to pop out. And as soon as they do, I suspect this game will be underway. Serral putting down a 4th. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. Here come the airborne Rangers. And they're actually making a beeline to that 4th base location. And now Serral starts making lings. He's also putting down a spore. There are 14 Marines in this attack force. Clem puts them down just outside the destructible debris, and they're going right for Serral's new designer hatch. No Louis Vuitton for you! Oh, the queens are enraged. Clem picks up and boosts for the main. Oh, but he sees a spore there and he pulls back. Was that ever a well-positioned spore? Even still, forcing a cancel on a newly minted 4th base is not a bad little prize. Serral starts his lair tech and gets himself a baneling nest. Clem has now landed his 3rd at the triangular 3rd location, and he's well on his way to saturating it. Serral also picking up that Overlord speed. He's eventually going to need that for Widowmine detection, especially since, as we see, Clem has just started that armory. But the lair is going to complete, and that means Serral's going to be able to get Overseers. Of course, so I don't actually see any Widowmines coming out of Clem, he's making a tank right now. He does like to mix up his balance between Widowmines and tanks. I think that's very healthy. Oh, nice little depot wall at that 3rd base. Clem showing us how this map can be played. The triangular 3rd is not nearly as open as it is on so many other maps. Just like in the previous 2 games, Serral started his centrifugal hooks upgrade as soon as his lair was done. And we are seeing banelings being made in the top side of the map. Zerg is getting ready with his surprise counter-assault. Perhaps he'll wait till Clem overcommits his forces on the south side of the map. In games 1 and 2, Clem really hasn't had a need to defend very much in the early game. But perhaps in game 3, Serral's looking to flip that script. Clem cannot see those banelings, but he does have a siege tank position there, and it's capable of splatting the baneling with his splash damage, possibly even more than one at a time. But I think Serral intends that he's only gonna let it shoot once. Oh, nice pick up there and good vertical cliff action. Clem using the terrain to his advantage. He can just hop back and forth and leave those Zerglings running in circles. When Zerg doesn't have Queens, Hydras, or Mutas on the field, Medevacs reign supreme. Or at least they do in the hands of a skilled player like Clem. Okay, the Queens show up and the bouncy bounce game is over. Oh, I thought Serral was gonna go for it. Oh, he is! He sees Clem pulling his forces south on the creep. Baneling bust on the depot wall. Somehow Clem isn't supply blocked. Baneling looking to hit the SCVs. Oh, he gets a whole bunch of, so many red SCVs. The Lings are picking them off. What a combo, 19 dead SCVs in a blink of an eye. And Serral got Lings into the main. He's got Lings in the natural. Clem's gonna be able to get the cleanup in the natural. But Serral buries his Lings in the main. That's gonna get him vision. Serral's just been getting value out of his buried Zerglings all game long. Clem recovering quickly here, already getting back on the attack. Oh, the buried Zerglings pop out to harass the SCVs, forcing them to defend themselves. When Clem pulls his SCVs off the mineral line, Serral's income stats are double that of the Terran. That's a lot of economic damage for just 4 or 5 Zerglings. Clem trying to stop Serral from getting up what looks to be his 6th base. He does, he gets the cancel. That is a big chunk of Marines grouped together. The DPS on that torch-wielding mob is really quite insane. Oh, there are actually still buried Lings in the Terran natural. Banelings charge the pitchfork mob. That's the one thing that they have to fear. As my Uncle Oscar is fond of saying, medevacs are great at healing Marines, but not so great at healing acid-bathed corpses. Wait, there's actually 5 Zerglings in the main as well? Oh, this is so awesome. Every now and then Serral just pops up, kills some SCVs, makes a pest of himself, and then buries again. There we go. Clem's gotta pay for the scans to get rid of these guys. He's just got no choice. He can't let Serral keep doing that to him. Oh, the torch-wielding mob is getting rather deep in the Zerg base here. Serral has to keep a fresh supply of banelings at hand. It's the only thing those Marines are afraid of. Marines truly have that mob mentality. Once you get enough of them, they become fearless. What's that Queen gonna do to them? Nothing. Banelings, quite a bit. Oh, those Marines are about to catch up on upgrades as well. Clem bounces over. He's gonna be able to take out that 6th base again. Or does Serral have the save? He does! Oh, another surprise Baneling attack is brewing. It's just win-win for Serral. He either takes advantage of the lack of Terran D, or he forces a good chunk of Terran's forces to stay home. Oh, Serral starts up Hive Tech. Unlike in the previous games, though, I haven't seen a Hydra Den, so I don't necessarily think this means Zerg's going for lurkers. So really, there's 2 separate distinct pieces of action here. One is these Marines in the bottom right. They just keep bouncing around, hitting over and over. Oh! Serral just set a Baneling landmine. I love that. The second story is the action in the top left. A second Baneling bust is brewing. Clem has not replaced the depot wall. Oh! Annihilation! Clem just lost his whole army. I'd say at least 10 Marines died in an eye blink there. Clem just packs up his few remaining survivors and goes home. A Widowmine drop is plan B. 5 drone kills. But the medevac is lost. Clem forgot about that spore placement and flew right into it. I think he was rattled by the Baneling landmine. Oh, we do have Hydra Tech for Serral now. And the Hive just finished up. Serral goes for Hydra movement speed. Oh, and here comes the Baneling bust. And there are a lot of Banelings this time. Can Serral run the gauntlet? He's got to get past the Widow Mines. One good Widow Mine hit can shut this down. Oh, but a huge number are going to get by and get into the natural. The defending Marines get cleaned up and just a few hit the mineral line, 6 dead SCVs. But there is not a lot left of Clem's army, and it's enough for the GG. Serral takes the lead in the series, 2-1. Now I know we want to get to game 4, but it just wouldn't be us if we didn't review that Baneling landmine. I've got to see the necro acrobatics in slow-mo. 15 Marines go in, 3 come out. That works out that Clem loses 600 minerals to just 2 Banelings. That's efficiency. And I love how there's one Marine who gets pelted so high, he actually burns up before his corpse can hit the ground. Serral was growing in strength before this happened, but I do think this kind of sealed the deal for him. Clem's offense was essentially over at that point, and Serral was able to focus on his own attack. Well, game 4 is now upon us, and we start to wonder if endurance starts to become a factor. Who can stay the sharpest the longest? Bring on game 4. Adjutant, if you would please.
The game begins now.
Looks like our run of new maps has come to an end. We're going to have an old favorite instead. We're going to have game 4 on the logistically challenged 2000 atmospheres. And speaking of weirdness, this series is now kind of in a weird place. If Serral gets one more win, he wins the best of 5. But even though this is the grand finals, the tournament won't end there. Because Clem's coming from the winner's bracket and Serral from the loser's bracket, they'll have to settle it with a further best of 3. It's a double elimination format. Clem's never lost, Serral's lost 1. Until you lose 2, you can't be out. So that can lead to some really weird math. One way of looking at it, Serral needs to actually win 3 more games, whereas Clem only needs to win 2. Either right now or in the next best of 3 series. But it's probably best for our brains if we just take it one step at a time and say this is a best of 5, Serral needs to win a 3rd game to take it. But the point is, I'm overhyping it if I act like Clem is on his deathbed here. Hatch first for Serral again? Well, I'm sure I'm grossly oversimplifying things here. My sense is both players are quite comfortable trying to settle this series on the basis of their Ghost versus Lurkers performance. That sounds good to me if you're a Clem fan, because his Ghosts have just been off the hook all series long. But I also think that Serral's playing a strategy where he's baiting Clem into over-investing in Ghosts. If he does, Serral's quite happy to punish him by making this all about Ling Bane. Our Zerg player in the top right is one of only 3 players to have ever won the Triple Crown twice. He is Serral! If you're wondering, the other 2 players to have achieved that elite status are MVP and Life. Are we allowed to say that guy's name? He's kind of permanently in the Starcraft doghouse for match fixing. And he's been permanently banned from the sport. How cool would it have been to see a game of Clem versus Life? In fact, our Terran player in the bottom left is so good, O Gaming has actually made a music parody video called Desplancido, but we'll call him Clem! I should explain that Clem's last name is actually Desplanches, though I'm sure I pronounced that badly because my French is terrible. Reaper is here causing havoc. Lings are dancing, trying to survive while that queen comes out. Oh, look at that! Serral uses a drone to soak the shots to protect the Lings. That is such an evolving meta, because the reason Zerg gets the Lings is to protect the drones in the first place. But the Reaper dance scenario has become so played out that now the drones are protecting the Lings. Or at least if you have Serral's level of control. If I tried that, the drones would just die. Okay, so we've got the reactor switch that we've come to know and love, but I don't see a starport or an extra racks anywhere. Ah, it's a proxy! Clem's messing with us. He's changed it up in game 4. A proxy starport on the east side of the map. You never know exactly, but this looks like Clem's setting up for a secret Hellion drop. This is a killer build that Thermal has popularized. You use a proxied medevac to land 4 Hellions into your opponent's mineral line faster than they can anticipate. This build actually works against Protoss and even in TVT. Now watch Clem go and do something completely different like build a Liberator. We did see him try to mix those in game 2. Meanwhile, Serral's getting his Ling speed and building queens 3 at a time. Oh yeah, see that rally point? That's where you'd put a medevac, which is actually building. Well, I am delighted that we're gonna get a different opening here. And Clem's gonna disguise it by making sure his first 2 Hellions show up just like they did every other game. But I think he's gonna try and keep them alive because he's got bigger plans for those Hellions. He's not just looking to delay some creep doomers. He's looking to kill off the drones in the main. Wants to make sure those overlords see his Hellions. Nothing unusual going on here. And at the same time, Terran does start up stim. There we go, there's Hellions 3 and 4, timed right up with that medevac. The Reaper's not actually part of this. Serral has no spores. Does he have a queen in his main? Oh, he's left some lings here. That's huge, very good read. Even if they die, they can still buy some time here. Sometimes Serral just displays such psychic powers. I know his lings are dying, but this could have been so much worse. Oh, and maybe it will be. Clem's still going for it. No, he has to abort. But Clem gets out of there with 3 of his Hellions intact. 8 dead lings, not a bad trade, not what he came for. Oh, and it just got better. He picked up 2 drone kills and the Zerg 3rd. In my defense, I was focused on the fact that Serral had done a complete scout of Clem's base with an Overlord. And somehow that Marine isn't doing a thing about it. Either Clem hasn't seen the Overlord or he just doesn't care. He's got vision of it. I think he was just focused on his Hellion barbecue plans. But now that the 3rd is gonna land, the jig is up. It's yoga pose, land like command center. It's always gotta do that sexy 180-degree turn. And Serral's Overlord is gonna get away scot-free. I guess Clem isn't too concerned. He already triggered his proxy. When Hellions land in your base, you can probably deduce the rest of it. Serral detects Clem's trying to swing to the left. Queens go to intercept. They get there first. They're gonna be able to get the block. Serral's not a precog, he's just got well-positioned Overlords. Actually, I'm not entirely sure about that. There's some videos I've cast where Serral's predictions have just been freakish. Stim pack is done, combat shields start, and Clem is making Marines 5 at a time. And it looks like he's got enough Marines for 1 medevac, which is not coincidentally the exact number of medevacs that Clem has. Because his proxied starport is flying home, and that means it won't be building anything for the next little while. Serral's Zergling grabs the watchtower and busts Clem's attack. His prize is an immediate death. Somehow I don't think that was as rewarding and fulfilling as he thought it would be. Clem's added 2 more Hellions to take his count up to 5, and now he's going after the creep. And since Serral knows about the medevac, his speedlings are there to deal with it. Once again, Clem's setting up that multi-pronged attack he loves so much. Clem loves to force his opponents to bounce their attention around and around, just waiting for his opponent to make a mistake. Here, he's using the surface area of the minerals to make life miserable for those Zerglings. This is so efficient. Serral's just burning up medevac energy instead of getting Marine kills. Clem still has all 8 Marines, and they're about to get combat shields. Serral's Lings run into the sight blockers. Echoes of the game on Curious Mind. Clem uses the watchtower to defeat the sight lines, and he's finished his army, so he's gonna transform those Hellions into Hellbats. Clem is just on fire right now. I better not say that, I'm gonna make Bly jealous. And 1-1 is gonna finish for the Terran. These Marines are gonna be fully operational. Terrific spore positioning by Serral, that shuts the drop right down. But look at this army here. Stim Marines and Hellbats working together. Serral knows Zerglings are just gonna melt against that, so he rallies his queens and gets himself another dozen Banelings. Oh, Clem is just everywhere right now. The triangular 3rd is wide open for attack. He's gonna focus down the spore so it's easier for him to get a medevac in there in the future. Serral pulls the trigger on his zillion Baneling army. Boom! Serral's up 18 workers right now, but mules seem to be the difference maker because Clem is hanging in there on income. Serral's getting burrow gives me hope that we could see more Baneling landmines again. I'm still buzzing from that game-winning hit in game 3. Oh! 2 Widowmines and 4 Banelings completely cancel each other out there. We're seeing signs of momentum shifts here. Serral's pushing Clem back. His supply lead is slowly climbing. Serral's making a gazillion Zerglings again. 34 at a time. Well, Clem's making 9 Marines at a time. The upgrade timings are pretty identical this game as well. They should both get their +2/+2 around roughly the same period. Typically you view that as good for Zerg, usually the Terran's ahead on that. You can really get a feel that Serral wants to close this series out. Clem does not want to go to that best of 3. Both players really bringing their A game. Oh, there's a Zergling run by at the Terran 3rd. Clem's going to be able to clean that up, and as he does so, we're going to see that Clem's going to be adding Liberators into the mix again. Serral did force the SCV pull on the cheap though, and whenever he does that, the income really swings in his favor. Serral's just about hit that critical mass of 80+ drones, and that really puts the pressure on Clem to do some damage. Nobody wants to deal with an 80 drone Serral. By the way, with all the excitement, did I manage to mention that Serral's got a Hydra Den out again? No sign of actual Hydras yet, but he is working on the upgrades. Serral consistently goes for Hydra speed before Hydra range, not what you normally see. But when the best player in the world does it that way, you gotta wonder if maybe that's the way it should be done. Clem picks up his very large army and tries for the main again. Serral's lings are headed over as fast as they can, but they've got to get there the long way. I realize it's for game balance, but do you ever wonder why it is that it takes so much longer for Marines to unload than it does to pick up? Logistically, you'd think going down or falling out would be faster. Oh, Clem just murdered a ton of drones in the top left, and he's adding more here. That's exactly what he needed to do. He just took the lead in this game. Serral has had enough of the medevacs putting the boots to him. He's making Hydras now. It makes such a difference when the Terran can just use the medevacs to pick up whenever they want and reinsert themselves whenever they want. At some point, the Zerg has to have some air defense, and the Queens aren't going to cut it. Clem is following through with his non-stop aggression. He's trying to send a huge army up to the top left. Serral sees it. He's going to try to intercept with his forces. At the same time, Clem's got a quadruple Widowmine drop. All 4 into the triangular 3rd. 6 more dead drones make it 8. Remember, Clem took out the Spore there earlier. Serral never had a chance to remake it, and Clem punishes him for it. Clem has taken the mineral lead back. He's got the worker lead. He's got the army lead. He's got the supply lead. Serral adds the infestation pit. He's looking for the old survive till hive. No doubt he's thinking about that lurker den. It's a weird thing that you don't actually need a hive to make a lurker den, but you do need the hive to research the upgrades. Serral trying to beat back 2 Terran armies at once. It looks like he's succeeding. Serral's new composition of Banelings plus Zerglings plus Hydras does seem to be having an effect. He's gonna corner what's left of what was once Clem's main army. It's now just a single medevac of badly injured Marines. Supply lead is back to Serral. He's leading on army and workers now. This is definitely a back and forth affair. This is starting to feel like a US election, just too close to call. Clem adding 3 Raxes at his triangular 3rd. He needs fresh bodies to somehow keep up with the 18 Banelings Serral's making right now. The infestation pit is done. Serral starts to work on that hive tech. Clem starts up his 3-3. Serral has not. There's a strong probability that there's going to be a window in which Clem has an upgrade advantage. It's really neat, but it seems like whichever player is down on army is doing all the attacking. These guys are just born to overcompensate. Regardless, Serral will hold his 3rd base. More than that, he's got an attack force on Clem's side of the map. He's hiding in the side blockers, building Banelings. That takes some guts. Oh, he's been spotted. Widowmine drop at the Terran 5th. Queen's rushing over to clean it up. They've brought bounty paper towels and fiendish death claws. Obviously, the paper towels will be far more useful. Oh, Clem follows up on the Widowmine hit with a burst of Marines. He forces the Queens to squeeze out a whole bunch of extra transfuses, depleting their energy. Clem is pretty close to maxing out. Trading is now going to be advantage Terran. Ideally, he'll continue to be efficient, but even if not, he still wants to trade. Except that Serral then orders 28 more Zerglings and he maxes out too. No sign of either player being able to build much of a bank yet though. That's so even though both players are mining at about 3,000 a minute. Their ability to rapidly spend is sensational. Pardon my sexism, but they're like valley girls at the mall with daddy's credit card. Spend, spend, spend. They're just continually maxing that sucker out. I mean, Serral already has a closet full of Zerglings. Did he really need another 20 pairs? Though he is getting his very first lurker den. And adrenal glands. Some things are just worth splurging on, I guess. Clem has his Ghost Academy. He's making his first ghost. It looks like he's potentially going to have that snipe energy ready by the time the lurkers arrive. We saw what a difference maker that was in Game 1 versus Game 2. But we also saw what a difference maker the adrenal glands were. Also, Clem is not making a ton of ghosts just yet. Though that's partly because he's maxed out on supply. I think Serral will take care of that for him shortly. Yes, very shortly. Are the Banelings going to catch that army on the ramp? Clem flees back to his third. Oh, and I think he sacrificed a Marauder to tank a whole bunch of Banelings. That was pretty sick. But that exchange created the supply room for Serral to get his first lurker. This game is very close to hitting the Crimson Zone. Another 28 kills will do it. I'm pretty sure we'll get that. Serral grabs another base. We're starting to see signs of banking. For the moment, the spending has slowed a little bit. The incomes are still outrageous. Well, as soon as I dare to suggest the spending has slowed, Clem builds 3 more command centers. Oh, Clem remaxing with Marauders instead of Ghosts. It's hard to argue that, though, when you see the number of Banelings on the field. Serral is going to find the command center farm, but it is too well guarded. He pulls back. What are those queens running from? There's like hardly any Marines there. Oh, I see. They're trying to deal with 2 squads at once here. Clem is such a handful to deal with at all times. Serral gets some cap space. He decides to remake it with Zerglings. Not lurkers, though he is still researching the lurker upgrades. Oh, with this base here, Serral has officially taken his half of the map. And as soon as I say that, Clem comes to undo it. He's absolutely going to pop that pustule. No cancel. The Marauder DPS is just too high. And happy with his Marauder count, Clem is now making ghosts. And he's really got himself a nice mineral bank. He's gone from compulsive shopper to pragmatic saver. All in the span of a couple minutes. Serral's about to finish Adaptive Talons. That's the lurker burrow speed. We'll see if that gets him to dust the bad boys off and bring them out. He is making Hydras, but he just doesn't stop making the Lings. Oh, huge detonation. That was a manual detonation to try to get some of the Marines he rolled by. That was an expensive whiff, but it gave him a lot more supply room to add in those Hydras. And 46 Lings, oh dear lord. But Serral did have to wipe out his mineral bank completely to pay for that stunt. Once again, that single buried Zergling putting a halt to the Terran mining operation. It is so effective. But if we count that floating CC as a base, I think we can officially say we're back to a split map scenario. Technically, there's the 2 forward bases that haven't been taken. I was about to say, but they're really tough to hold, but Clem is in the process of trying. He's floating a command center over there right now. There's not a lot of patches there, and it puts him right next door to the creep. It's such an unappealing base. But if you can actually hold it, I find it has such a morale effect on your opponent. It's like they have to drop everything and attack that point, and if you can focus your defense there, you can get some pretty efficient exchanges. It's official. It's the dawn of the lurker. We have reached that point in the game. Clem immediately steps up his ghost production. Serral looking to capitalize before those ghosts get deployed. Clem has a missile turret granting detection to that fortress here. Lings attack that fortress, but there's a repair hug. Remember, the fortress does splash damage. It can kill multiple Lings at once. A Widowmine hits the lead lurker, and a Liberator finishes it off. Serral pulls back to gather his forces and comes right back at Clem. Such a back and forth game. Okay, I think that's enough hugging on that fortress. Those SCVs want to get back to work. Sometimes those little guys are just so affectionate, though. As the SCVs are always telling the Marines, more hugs, less drugs. It'll make for a more beautiful world. Clem is still holding that forward base. I was skeptical, but he's pulling it off. Serral remaxes with Ling Bane, not Lurker. I just love how he keeps rebalancing his composition to keep Clem guessing. He keeps putting pressure on the Terran to match what he's doing, and if Clem gets it wrong, he's in trouble. Oh wow, that Liberator gets a perfect circle over top that fortress. Oh, I think both players are about to lose their corner bases. It's a controlled demolition as the Lings take down the planetary fortress. And then they waste no time going after the next one. But Clem is going to get revenge in the top left. He's going to treat himself to a hors d'oeuvre. Are those drones going to be able to sneak away? I think so. Serral did get that fortress, so it's a bit of a 2-for-1 deal he's got going here. Clem's Ghost Patrol arrives, and Serral knows he has to get out of there. And Clem's backup orbital is gonna fill right in. Serral's making all these great attacks, but can he deal with the Terran redundancy? Clem's doing his best impression of a Hydra. You can cut my CC down, but I've got 2 more ready to take its place. But in the case of the bottom right base, Serral actually moves in and puts in his own hack. There will be no floating in of a replacement CC there. Personal Cloak is getting researched for Terran, and Serral is adding in an Investor. That's new for us. We'll have to see what Serral has in mind. Oh, Serral got his lings on top of the Ghost, but there just wasn't enough of them. And now it's a Sniper-Palooza on the Overseers. Not enough to actually supply block the Zerg. But Clem definitely wants to start limiting the ability of the Zerg to have detection. Without Overseers, Cloaked Ghosts will reign supreme. I love that death animation. The detached breathing unit follows the same trajectory path. Oh, this time Serral's looking to remax with Hydras. Clem is not only holding that forward base, he's making progress in terms of his attack. He is taking over the left side of the map here. And his army's a lot bigger than the Zerg's right now. Serral has to dump a bunch of his money into remaking Overlords. The snipes on those Overseers are having an impact. Oh, sick EMP on that Viper. Clem wipes out all its energy. Serral is still trying to take down that forward base. Both players with the mighty bank at this point. I can't envision how this game could end. There is so much back and forth and lead changes going on right now. Serral remaxes by adding 46 more lings. It feels like Clem is really making progress in the top left, but he's losing ground in the bottom right. The net result almost seems to be that the map's going to be cut east-west. There's no planetary here anymore. The undefended SCVs have to flee, and the Banelings are just waiting. And the battle in the top left for that forward base remains ongoing. Clem has made that a really tough take, and Serral's reluctant to let it go. No doubt because it operates as a terrific staging area for Clem to launch attacks on the Zerg. Oh, that is some serious long-distance mining there. 7 new lurkers underway for Serral, and by setting that up, his APM crossed over 1,000. That is ridiculous. It implies that Serral's doing 16 different things a second. Obviously, that's not the case, but even still, if it's remotely close to that, it's insane. Serral loses that top base, and that means he's going to have a ton of orphan drones. His income's also going to take a hit. Suddenly, I like Clem's position. Except that I've thought that about 17 times already this game, and Serral keeps coming back. Having maxed out the numeric upgrades for his Marines, Clem's now picking up the armor upgrades for his Widowmines, and he just never stops making command centers. Serral's focusing his efforts on the right side of the map again. He's chased Clem all the way home, and he's gonna go after this base one more time. Somehow Clem EMPs the Viper while still in mid-flight, and then just starts sniping those lurkers. Serral came with a huge force. It doesn't look so huge now. He wound up getting supply blocked after his Overseers got taken out. A Widowmine softened them up with splash damage, and then the snipes finished the job. This looks bad for Serral. He has to dump all his money into Overlords. His attack on the right has been blunted, and Clem continues to push forward on the left. Clem looks really strong. He's near maxed. He's got a bank. He's adding those ghosts. Serral unblocks himself, but now he needs money. He uses what little he has to make more lurkers. But this time he's making 3, not 10. Clem's moving a command center into the top left. He doesn't know that Serral's got a huge stash of drones hiding there. Clem wants the gas. That seems to be the limitation on his army right now. He's gonna scan and stim and just clean up so much creep. Oh, and he sees the drones. Oh, this is so not good for Serral. The drones are cornered and there's no defenders around. Oh, the horror, it's a massacre. 16 drones floating to the surface like bloated dead fish. Clem violates the crap out of the Geneva Convention. He targets innocent civilians without mercy. Somehow, Serral still has an income, but Clem's going after yet another base. Serral has to hold this. He cannot afford to lose it. He sends everything, looking to overwhelm the Terran. It's not enough to stop Clem, but it is enough to save the base. But now Clem's looking to snipe those expensive lurkers. Serral has to pull them back. Is he gonna sack the hatch? I'm not sure he can afford it. Those dying ghosts always scream so loud. They're so sensitive. I wonder if the Marines look at them a bit sideways. Oh, Clem lures the expensive lurkers into widow mines. It's getting really hard for Serral to walk around with his lurkers. There's death traps everywhere, and he taps out. And the series is all tied up. Okay, so the logical thing here is to jump right into the huge pivotal Game 5 in which everything will, potentially, turn upon. Nobody needs a rehash of this one. But I feel like I need to do something to at least give you a 10-second pause before we do that. A game like this one with so much high-level back and forth is like sticking electrical wires into your brain and hitting the supercharge button over and over. Were humans even meant for that level of stimulation? Maybe I should just run a half-minute of footage of a calm blue ocean, calm blue ocean, calm blue ocean. This is why I have such respect for even casual Starcraft fans. You could be watching Crossy Road or Kitten videos, but instead, you are appreciating top-level gameplay from the hardest game in the world. Yes, I said that. The hardest game in the world. Some days, I am astounded why this game doesn't have more fans. And other days, I'm astounded that anyone has the courage to watch it at all. The bottom line is it takes a special kind of intelligent, highly intelligent person, and so I am glad to know you, be it ever so impersonal and virtual. That said, I will now drag you into the foxhole at least one more time. But also, just for the record, I will admit it, I too like those Darnable Kitten videos. Adjutant, if you would please.
The game begins now.
Okay, this is it. All this battling, and it's now going to come down to this game. Either Clem takes down the Finnish Phenom, or Serral extends it to a whole new best of 3. Call it a grand finals, if you will. Something you do when your grand finals just isn't grand enough. And we're going to do this on the map Blackburn. And Blackburn is definitely going to give us a different look than we've seen in every game so far. If for no other reason, this is going to be the first and only time we've added in the element of gold minerals. This map has given us some really intense games, particularly in TVZ. Only this time we're doing it with potentially 2 of the greatest players in the game right now. Match first, let's get those intros. Our Zerg player in the bottom left. He may be the Finnish Phenom, but he is far from finished. He is Serral! Given what we've seen so far out of both of our players, I am not anticipating any cheese. I just kind of throw my prediction out there. It's a way of guaranteeing that it will happen. And the Terran in the bottom right. He is focused. He is zen. He is the master. He is Clem! If you haven't seen it yet, they've just released the Signature Series video on Clem. It's really well done. It's this 7-minute puff piece on who Clem is and his relationship with his father, the story of his rise to prominence and all that good stuff. There's that Terran quadruple, aka the Reaper Expand with the Scout. Notice that Serral's Overlord gets a piece of that. It's a nice piece of intel that Zerg can grab. Clem's Scout navigates through the deceleration zones, and he will witness the glorious popping of the hatch. Because the game truly doesn't start until you have creepy goo all over. Hey, the SCV left early, how rude. Kids today, they got no respect for tradition. But what's also of note is that SCV is not going home. He should be heading back for a Reaper High 5. In Game 4, that turned out to be a proxied starport. We're definitely going to have to keep an eye on that. But first, that Reaper's going to come in, and I want to see if Serral's going to use his drones. Oh, it's an eBay block at the 3rd. Clem takes advantage of the fact that Serral has not brought his drone out yet. I like that. It also means that Serral's going to have no idea that Clem is up to this. He could potentially wind up gathering up 300 minerals and then be stuck sitting on it. Queen pops, and we did not see any weird stuff where the drone was protecting the lings. That might have just been a one-time thing. Queen comes out and is potentially going to see that eBay. Oh, Clem throws a grenade to bounce her back, blocking the vision even longer. The drone comes out and gets the bad news. Serral's mineral glut shoots up to 400, and then he reacts by getting ling speed in a queen. Not what he wanted, but a good adaptation. Meanwhile, back at the Terran ranch, we've got the reactor switch underway. Both queens going to work on the eBay, which means the Reaper's gonna get inside. He actually gets a second shot at those lings. This is great for Clem, but he's gotta be careful here. Serral's lings are not fresh. He could lose a lot of them here. He hustles over his third queen from the main. He needs to get that Reaper out of here. It looks like Clem will escape, but now that I think about it, what's most impressive is if I'm right, Serral hasn't actually lost a single ling. Third goes down, it's late, but ling speed is already done. The first two Hellions are already out. We saw that little fishing line earlier, so they're gonna try to link up with the Reaper. Looks like a tech lab is going to the starport. It looks like Clem's reverting to the build in game 1 and 2 where he went for that Banshee. Oh, is that a quadruple queen bounce? No, it was just a double. You know me, I find queen bouncing a rude activity. But if it's a quadruple, maybe I have to let it slide. Oh, Clem gets in, but did Serral let him in there? He had a bit of a trap set, I think. And he gets the Reaper. It's a Zerg first blood. That's the first time we've seen that in this series. And it's pretty rare for this matchup in general. Serral's Overlord's gonna see the Banshee and the Cloak. He's gonna pay for it this time, though. No free scouts today, but probably money well spent. He's gonna know to make his spores and exactly when to make them. Right now he throws down a pair of Evos. Clem starts up Stim. A lot of time when Cloak gets scouted, Terran will cancel it to mess with the Zerg. But Clem has not done that in any of the games we've seen today. Serral's Ling's getting to work on the rocks. That kind of foreshadows that Serral's got plans to take that gold base. I mean, obviously he's going to. It's just a question of how early does he want to risk it. By design, it's not an easy hold. The Medevac Marine can really take advantage of the positioning of the mineral line. The Banshee takes a peek and pulls back. Maybe because Clem's making a second one. Serral has a pair of spores trying to complete here. 6 Hellions are patrolling the perimeter trying to see if they can get something done. Oh, they're looking to hit the Lings who are going after the rocks. Serral gets them out of there. Good call. Thank you, Advanced Overlord Spotter. Who needs surveillance cameras when you've got that guy? Clem going up to 4 racks as his third command center's already landed. Serral starts his lair tech and gets that Baneling nest. He's also started his +1/+1. He's ahead of the Terran on that. The Zerglings are going to use their special ability to beam this destructible debris into outer space. For the longest time, I didn't know they had a teleporter. I didn't want to game balance whine here, but I've always found that a little bit OP. Double Banshee with Cloak. They're now going to make that foray. Will Clem get value for his investment? This did not come cheap, and Serral has his spores up. But Clem can one-shot a drone, and he gets 2 kills dancing on the fringes. He picks up a third, a fourth. That's a great start. Not a lot of damage on those Banshees. Serral starts cranking out drones. He's got to compensate for those losses. This is interesting. Stim's going to finish up for the Terran. Oh, the Hellions are getting in on the drone killing. They get 3. And they draw the attention of the Queen, so the Banshees swing around to try to get even more. This is starting to get into dangerous territory for Serral. He falls further and further behind, and at some point he can't recover. Not against a player of Clem's caliber. He has started his gold. An infusion of minerals could help him out here. He's also finished off his +1/+1 numeric upgrades. Clem's only really just starting that. So maybe there's a way he can do some return damage here. But it looks like Clem's getting his Stim timing ready to rock. He's cranking out the Marines, and there's a pair of medevacs coming. 17 drone kills, and Clem still has both his Banshees. They're both deep in the red, though. If he can somehow get those back and repair them, that would be insane. But forget getting revenge. Serral's got to weather this storm that's on the way. 16 Marines in those medevacs. And what interests me is that Clem is making a tank. His success all series long has really been with the Widow Mine. Serral's looking to set up a Zergling flank here. He's got it. Clem has to pick up. Oh, and Serral's on the tank. Oh, Clem saves it with the threat of his Hellions. Serral almost capitalized on Clem not having his units together, but now he does. Serral's gonna get his Baneling speed soon. He's gonna want that. Serral's actually already got his Hydra Den up, just no Hydras to go with it. Oh, Clem's gonna take that Bombard position. We've seen him do this before. This can be really hard for a Zerg player to clean up. The Marines land up top, but they're giving vision to that tank to splash the top section there. Serral wants his Lings to circle around to kill that tank, but Clem's got Hellbats guarding him. Serral tries to bring his spores up to push back those medevacs. Oh, this is just a nasty tactic. You gotta feel for the Zerg here. Serral's gonna try to brute force it on the top level. He's using transfuses, but he has to eat tank fire to do it. The tank has 12 kills already. Just terrific efficiency for the Terran. If Serral did not have his gold up and running, he would not be able to do this. Serral kind of concedes the space to Clem. He's just kind of going around him now. That's a good strategy. Clem does have a second force waiting for him though. Terrific creep spread on the top side of the map, or at least he did until the Marines dug in. Oh, the Lings are gonna snack on that tank. They may be struggling to get the one guarded by Hellbats, but how about a little vicarious revenge? The Queens are gonna take care of that one from the top. Serral's just gonna have to pay for it with transfuse energy. But that's even more value to Clem. He just picks up the rest of his army and he exits. Or he should. Is he actually gonna attack with that? Yeah, he's gonna stim in. Definitely surprise value there. Serral's making Hydras at this point. He's already got the movement speed upgrade. He's adding that range upgrade for them. Just checking resources lost here. We can see that Clem's had a terrific opener, and his income is not really that far behind. Serral going heavy on the Hydras, adding 10 more. He's really leveraging his gold base to take advantage for the fact that he's down on workers. But having used that tool early, he's not gonna have it later in the game. So the pressure's on Serral to make sure he's in a place of solid footing before that gold base runs out on him. Oh man, I keep saying how Hellbats are great against Lings, and then Serral just kills them all with Lings alone. I mean, he does have the numeric upgrade advantage. He's got his +2/+2. Oh, Clem's still getting value out of his Banshees. Serral has detection, but even still, just that extra DPS. Who's got this? They look evenly matched on the high ground. Both players dancing back and forth in trepidation. But it looks like Serral will command the high ground. Or is Clem just suckering him into Widow Mines? He has been so good with those all series long. Serral trying to make Banelings in the field mid-battle. He's got the detection to see those Widow Mines. And the Hydras are able to cut them down while they're on cooldown. The Banelings will complete. Clem looks to be a bit depleted here. His Marines are all looking rather jaundiced. They're all in the yellow. The Zerglings are gutting the third. Serral's getting the revenge kills he needs. 18 dead SCVs. I did not think Serral was coming back from this, but somehow he has. Just incredible poise from the champion. Clem is wielding the defender's advantage here. He's making new Marines 10 at a time, and he's running them immediately right into the battle. He just might survive and clean this up. Behind this, Serral puts down an infestation pit. This could be a game where Serral gets lurkers before Clem gets ghosts. But forget that, he's actually pierced the natural, and he's killing the Marines as they try to scream in. Oh, big Widow Mine hit. Serral pulls out, Clem has survived, and the Widow Mines are whittling Serral's forces as he retreats. Unbelievable. Serral is ahead on army and workers and supply. He's taken a fifth, his gold is fully saturated. For his part, Clem has a fourth and he's turned it into a fortress. With bonus CC turning into an orbital. Actually, that bonus orbital could jump over and grab the gold at any time. Serral going for hive tech. No sign of that lurker den yet. Clem's Widow Mines just continue to do so much damage. He's got 9 of them out on the field right now. Serral dumps his money into 32 Zerglings. Clem is out resourcing Serral ever so slightly. Oh, he's put down the gold base. That is gonna have an immediate effect. Serral really wants to shut that down. Clem spots Serral's fresh base with a scan. Oh, he's going for it. He redirects his forces there. Now Serral has 2 competing priorities. He's got to stop that gold and he has to defend. He's bringing his forces over to defend. He's gonna beat Clem there. Clem's army's already swelling in size. He's taken the army lead, and the worker lead, and the supply lead. Man, there is something magical about gold bases. Clem's gonna suck Serral into his Widow Mines again. Serral's trying to get Overlord speed so he can detect those Widow Mines better. Clem starts mixing in Marauders to better deal with those Banelings. Oh, Clem actually canceled his orbital, turned it back into a CC, and then made it into a fortress. And then the fortress has no trouble dealing with the Zerglings. Amazing attention to detail by Clem. I totally thought he had an orbital out there. Big pickup by Clem. Is this a potential Doom drop going for the main? Serral's primary army is way far away from his main base. I understand why. He's feeling immense pressure to deal with that gold base. It is a drop. Serral has an overlord position there to spot it. Serral's recalled his army. He has a little bit of time while Clem gets his marines down. The Lings arrive just in time. Clem picks up and gets out of there. Serral kills the Widowmines. I thought that was going to be so much worse. Or better, depending on who you're cheering for. But Clem is following this up with the second attack on Serral's gold. There's no drone pull, it's a drone massacre. A dozen dead before Serral's army arrives. And the Widowmines just keep adding the splash. Oh, Queen's dying. The Doom Drop is now going after the Triangular Third. Serral's lost all his queens. And he GG's out. Clem took Serral's heart with 2 decisive hits, eliminating his queens and drones. Clem wins the series. Clem wins the grand finals. Clem is your champion. If you stick around, we've got a few things to say about this one. You know what? Forget the power of love. Let's talk the power of gold. Clem almost seals the game in an anticlimactic fashion by doing titanic damage with his Banshee Hellion Blitz. But Serral battles back by grabbing a quick gold base and leveraging it with a killer attack of his own. Clem then grabs his gold and this time powers his way to victory, taking the series. Clem is the champion of StayAtHome Story Cup 4. Technically, Stay at Home doesn't count as a premier tournament win, but it is classified as a major, so let's not diminish it. Clem had to cut through Serral twice to take the victory, as well as Zest and Lambo. And for those of you who continue to disparage Clem as just a TVZ player, I gotta point out his win rate versus Protoss is now higher than his win rate versus Zerg. Although I do concede on the eye test, TVZ is certainly his best matchup. My point is, Clem is good, which I admit at this point is really just Captain Obvious stuff. But give me some credit, I've been championing Clem for a long time now. And as for Serral, having won DreamHack Europe Winter, he is now battling for one of 2 remaining spots in DreamHack Winter Championship. That is to say, he's set his heights on even greater victories, and he's probably pretty happy that Clem isn't standing in his way right now. Thank you for taking this StarCraft journey with me. I don't usually get the courage to attempt a best of 5. Please consider dropping a comment and let us know what you thought of this series, even if it's just Clem equals good, because in fairness, that's kind of where I'm at right now. If you haven't seen it, feel free to go watch the Clem Signature Series video and meet the dad who helped grow Clem's career. If I do it right, that'll be on the click-on box recommended by Kerrigan at the end of the video. Or go watch the Despacito video in which the French casters honor their champ with a Justin Bieber spoof of Despacito. You gotta give them props for their courage. And of course, you might want to subscribe or hit the bell icon to this channel.
Actually, that's not a bad idea.
Because I already know next week's game is going to be worth it. You can check that out on Sunday morning, 10 a.m. EST. So, from my base to yours, Zugzwang out. To continue your StarCraft journey, Nova advises you to click the video in the upper rectangle. But Kerrigan warns you to watch your 6 and click the video in the bottom rectangle. Or you can stimpack your StarCraft experience. Subscribe to Zugzwang StarCraft. Just hit the circle. From my base to yours, Zugzwang out.